Hey guys, what's up? It's TheSlurpeeMaker. Today I'm making this video about competition again because the channel is about competition, and if you haven't really subscribed yet, you should subscribe because this channel is all about competition. This video is going to be about biased and unethical and ethical and unbiased sort of behaviors, and I'm really trying to talk about the whole particular subject that I'm confined to at this particular moment. Because most of my subscribers and my viewers are from India and Bangladesh and Nepal and other parts of the world, I have been confined to a problem that I need to solve, and that is their sort of situation and also mine. It has gone to the present editions that I have told you that we are now in a position that the world should be as it should be, or I should be told that I should be in a position where I should be. What I basically mean is that my initial videos were about being a pro-unethical, unbiased position to tell everyone that they could solve their problem. But once my viewers started coming in and started messaging things like, oh, you're a Pajit and things like that, or you should be a Pajit because you're now unbiased and you are very ethical, I have actually turned into a person who is developing into a person who talks about competition solely based on this topic, and that topic is Pajit. Now, because there are millions of people throughout the world and there are literally only humans who communicate like us humans, and there are no animals other than monkeys and dolphins who can do that, their sort of ideologies and sort of ideations of these social problems are irrelevant. Therefore, the humans of the world who vote and have military weapons have all decided that you're... I'm a Pajit, everyone's a Pajit, we're all Pajit, but that's important because this biased and unethical behavior dictates basically everything. From going to Western education and going into the small little facets known as unbiased behavior, we have all been stuck into a loop where if you see an Indian or Indian subcontinent man or woman across the street or down the road or on the internet, she must be identified as a Pajit, and if you are having the smallest little bit of inconvenience that this person might be expressing some sort of communication that, hey, help me out, I need some help because there's a big problem that I'm trying to solve here too, then that person is a... I recently have come across that biased and unbiased information to be sort of a sole factor in America's interest. America's interest, as you have seen recently, has a new administration, and that administration is literally telling you that you should have a bias even though you are unbiased, and the professionals that resemble you, I say, and the big companies are really unbiased and ethical. But the smaller communities and the smaller niches have all come together and said, hey, guess what, all the other little clients that we have, customers, patrons, consumers, these guys are all not American enough, and now we have a bias that we want to sell only to Americans, and we are unethical because we said we only want to sell to Americans. This whole unbiased and unethical, ethical and biased sort of dilemma is the whole identity of American freedom and American opportunity, but it is solely done that we can't really do anything about it because, well, the people have voted, and that's why I think voting and competition is harassment, like I said in the previous video. The first solution is obviously to learn bias and ethical characteristics so that you can deliver on your promises. That way every other little situation in the future will be less confrontational. Now, you might have some bias or unbiased based off your experiences or the number of people in your sort of communities that also conflict with you and the competition related to that, trying to achieve the best money in the best world, but that's not important. It is important to learn about bias and ethical behaviors and unbiased and unethical behaviors because you'll be able to produce and contain those sort of situations, even though containment is also a form of harassment. Even if you are a person who doesn't believe in containment, the end of that non-contained sort of behavior or little curvature that you had in your life will sooner or later become a full expertise, and you will be able to benefit the future because ultimately the American interest is to have a position, stick with it, and back it up with their military and nukes and sanctions and tariffs. So therefore, it is not a problem if you're unbiased and biased, but it is a problem that you are biased to people who actually have given a confrontational position to white Americans, and white Americans in America themselves have taken it upon themselves to say that, hey, you guys and you minorities who aren't Indian, who don't speak English in your native language like Indian subcontinent, India and Bangladesh, Nepal and things like that, you guys won't be making any money, you're getting any sex, and you'll be put into the poverty EBT stream because we we don't want you to stick up to us like the Indian's English and the Indian English that destroys competition and ultimately doesn't let us. That sort of position is ultimately anti-competitive and discriminatory. And the other thing about that is you should learn about bias and unethical, because that unbiased and ethical sort of situation and environment you create with your language, diction, tone, syntax, ethos, pathos, logos is going to be able to flourish and create more people who all have the same sort of backing of unbiased and ethical considerations to everything they say. Number two is really understand that the whole decision that these bias or unethical behaviors or unbiased and ethical behaviors come down to your leaders who you've elected, because you don't vote or you do vote, have decided which should be the current position or stance on the world resources. Take this for example. There is one plot of silver in the world and there are 252 countries. These 252 countries all have an interest in this plot of gold or silver, and they say, hey, guess what, we need this for that, we need this for that, and everyone is supposed to come to a conclusion that we need this much and this much and that much. But we have buying rights. Buying rights then have the solution to buy these rare earths and minerals for a certain price, and that certain price gets sold up at a higher price, and that's how the economy runs. But what is the whole social media sector of this whole competition related to? Well, if that's being solved by China and the USA, and sooner or later it's going to be more people, then the whole social media thing of who should be sexy, who should be wealthy, who should be smart, and who should be this have all been eliminated thanks to social media. But guess what? It's going to be reintroduced because AI has been taking so many jobs, is my prediction, and there is no really position to talk about anything anymore because everything has already been spoken about until there is new conflicts like what is going on in the world. That's why the world news is very important, because it formulates and it kindles new sort of situation that you can formulate other than yourself contributing to your own self-growth by reading books. Which is why the unbiased and unethical things that you need to understand here is understand that the world leaders that you are currently being run by are the reasons why there are ethics and unbiased behaviors, and therefore it is ultimately their fault, which is why you can just blame them and live about your day, but does not mean that you can be biased or unethical and ethical, because that sort of thing will ultimately affect your performance at the workplace and ultimately affect your decisions there. Therefore, you should be unbiased and ethical in your workplace to create the most flourishing communities, because you are unbiased and ethical, creating more examples of something that is so derogatory, which is also a bad thing, because if you're derogatory and not really focusing, then America thinks of you as a wussy for not sticking up to America's interests, and therefore it is their fault again. Number three, although it is important to be unbiased and ethical, it might be into some consideration to have a bias and be unethical, because the sort of situation that the world is presenting is having chaos and artificial intelligence and other electronics and technology to take your jobs. So what should you do about it? Well, this is the sort of tone that this channel has, is we just present these ideas, and if you've listened, great, but if you haven't, well, then there's something that you can do about it, and you can just get to work and contribute to humanity, society, civilization, economy, and mankind. Number 4 is educate yourself and get as much information as possible. This is only paramount because without information you wouldn't even have a position to be biased or unbiased about. And without information you wouldn't be able to be ethical or unethical. So it is important to get the most amount of information and spend your time wisely, opposed to doom scrolling, and which is also some bit of information, but you should literally look into more academic papers and more other educational material. That way you can expand your horizon and really look at whatever the world is producing, because you can implement yourself and create an economy there to make you some money or even change the world. If you want to change the world like I'm trying to do with my competition and anti-competitive discussions, well, you should hit that like and subscribe, because we're going to go to number 5. Know your language that is currently administering you. There are currently many euphemisms and silver linings to how the world is run, to either take care of your feelings or just to tell you that this is the sort of road you should take following the path to success and wealth. Well, that sort of has led to many millions of people being in poverty, and many millions, or a few million, at least they're millions, to being completely wealthy. this sort of ideation is important, so therefore you should know the language that you're in or the country that you're in and just try to dominate. But then you'll realize that the USA has this anti-competitive competition throughout the world, holding resources along with China to compete with the USA, and we see that China has their interest in investments all around the world to make sure that we can really benefit from the technology, but the USA just picks spot 63. So the whole problem here is to make sure that you understand competition and really get it, that competition is sort of this anti-competitive, euphemistic form of way of telling you we don't really like that, which is also a form of unbiased and biased and unethical and ethical considerations to what we like, especially when it comes down to having known that everyone should be calling this competitive person Pajit in his English language, that hey, we don't want you to be making any money or any sort of position or have a marriage to create children that will produce more rhetoric that is competitive with the USA, and therefore it is anti-competitive, and therefore you should know the language like I know the language. This is why I'm making this video, so you can just distribute and help each other out with information that will be more competitive for a business that you might have. And therefore I think that this video is coming to a conclusion. If you agree with the 5 things that I've said about competition in the context of unbiased and ethical consideration, please hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.